JTV 0726 2603 2026. Where is the time going? Wow. Approaching spring. We may call this a spring offensive. A spring offensive. Title of this show: Political Fallout. The Mandelson Files. McSweeney. Andrew. And Kier. So apparently McSweeney's phone went missing. McSweeney is the man behind Starmer, and this could be literally. This could be literally behind him. The appointment of Peter Mandelson by Kier Starmer for me, I just can't understand why he would put Peter Mandelson in that position, knowing that he's going to get. Well, no, he knew the information about Mandelson. It was a good appointment, to be fair. Respect where respect is due. When it comes to Peter Mandelson, he's been a part of the Labour Party for a long time, and he knows the ins and outs of diplomacy. The one thing with Peter Mandelson, it seems as if Peter Mandelson is greedy. He's very greedy. He will hang around with anyone to get some money. Peter Mandelson. Now, can't really single out Peter Mandelson for such behaviour, because there's a lot of people that do such things. Hang about with people with unscrupulous character. And the person he decided to hang about with was Jeffrey Epstein. But I just thought to myself, what was Kier Starmer thinking to do that? Now, I'm gonna I'm going to offer a olive branch to Kier Starmer. Because of the troubling relationship with Donald Trump, it was a somewhat of an ace card that he played. And I'm not sure if you saw when Peter Mandelson was in the White House, Donald Trump's body language, for me, he was visibly shocked when he saw Mandelson. He couldn't even look him in the eye when he came into the White House. I can get that up. I can get that footage up. When Peter Mandelson went to the White House, and Peter Mandelson's, he's got that character, right? He's got that character. He's been dealing with the big boys for a long time, literally. The Prince of Darkness. But it was Trump's denial that he didn't even know Peter Mandelson, and he was visibly shocked. Right? I don't know if you see Trump's face, and it comes to anything to do with Epstein. It's like he's physically disabled. He doesn't. He's confused. He's confused. So give me 2 minutes, and I'm gonna get up all the videos, and I'm gonna show you. Right, Mandelson in the White House. We're gonna touch on McSweeney, Kier Starmer, and also Andrew Mountbatten.
it's really in particular the agreement with one of our closest and most cherished allies. And we're so happy that that's the way it worked out. I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer and his very talented team for their outstanding work and partnership. Today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products, but this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved. So good for both countries, and we'll also receive new market access for American chemicals, machinery, and many other industrial products that weren't allowed, and they'll end up getting products that they'll be able to price, and if they like them better and we make great products, they'll be buying those products, but they were not available in the UK. Furthermore, in a historic step, the deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. So we have a big economic security blanket, and that's very important, and we feel very, very comfortable with that because it's been a great ally, truly one of our great allies. I mean, a lot of people say our greatest ally. I don't want to insult people by saying that, but I can say it's certainly one of our greatest, and right at the top, and they're the first one we're talking about. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals. And we have a meeting, as you know, Scott will be going over to Switzerland on Saturday, and that'll be very, very interesting. Let's find out, but I think they want to make a deal very badly too. Both countries have agreed that the economic security is national security, and will be working together as allies to ensure that we have a strong industrial base, appropriate export controls, and protections for key technologies and industries like steel. Steel is a big factor. Both countries will become stronger with steel and things necessary for military. You know, we used to build ships and other things literally at a level that nobody's ever seen, and we haven't, we've eased up, and I would say that the UK certainly eased up, but now we're going to be uneasing both, and we work together. Once again, I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer. He's been terrific for his partnership in this matter. The special relationship and external bond, it's really an external and an internal bond between our two countries, will soon be stronger than ever before. And we really do. We have a great relationship. I want to just say that the representatives of UK have been so professional. And it's been an honor doing business with all of them, and in particular the Prime Minister. And I'd like to introduce him now to say a few words. Mr. Prime Minister, please take it away.
Why are you handing over 40% of your profit?
I mean, hold on. This is funny, this, you know. So, all of a sudden,
HMRC every single year. You've worked.
So things were going pretty well, right? Pretty well. Things were going pretty well in concerning with the relationship. So we have the President of the United States bigging up Starmer. And also the trade deals. And up to this point, Starmer was doing reasonably well on the international stage. This is around the same time where Trump is doing his tariffs, and even if you look at Trump looks different to what he looks now. He seems to have aged so much. It seems as if he's not even the same person. That's going a bit far with my conspiracy. But ever since he went to Russia, he's not been the same. Even when he came to the UK, visibly different. So we're going to hear from Kier Starmer now on the phone. And I think he's going to introduce Peter Mandelson. So I'd like you to watch very closely the demeanour of Trump. Okay? When he's introduced to Mandy.
Thank you, Mr. President, Donald. And this is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce this deal between our two great countries. And I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together. Can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well, particularly yes. Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job, and my team as well. Two negotiating teams have worked at pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today. Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt, because not only was it 80 years ago today that victory came for Europe after and at the end of the Second World War, but of course on that day the UK and the US stood together as the closest of allies. And Donald, I think even down to the hour, because you may or may not know that it was about this time of day, exactly 80 years ago, that Winston Churchill announced victory in Europe, and that led to great celebrations across Europe, across America, but particularly in the United Kingdom. Literally people going out into the street, putting bunting up, going up to the palace. And so to be able to announce this great deal on the same day, 80 years forward, almost at the same hour, and as we were 80 years ago, with the UK and the US standing side by side, I think is incredibly important and makes this truly historic. That close relationship has endured over those 80 years. As you know, Donald, when it comes to defence and security and intelligence sharing, of course, there are no two countries that are closer than our two countries. And now we take this into new and important territory by adding trade and the economy to the closeness of our relationship. It is built, as you say, on those notions of fairness and reciprocal arrangements. We've always had a fair and balanced arrangement between our countries. This builds on that, hugely important for sectors like car manufacturing and for steel and aluminium and so many others. And yes, we can finish ironing out some of the details, but there's a fantastic platform here, including, of course, on the tech side, where I think I'm right in saying we're the only two Western countries with trillion-dollar sectors when it comes to tech. And in the end, it comes down to, as you say, Donald, economic security is national security. On national security, we've been absolutely the closest of allies for so many years, keeping the peace through that close alliance, that friendship. And now a deal on trade and the economy. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald, and for the way in which your team have negotiated this. And I'm so pleased that we've got this deal, we've finalised it, and we've built an incredible platform for the future. So thank you so much. Donald, I'm now going to go and do a press conference. I think you have your press in with you. But on the details, I think if you've got Howard, we can deal with that through one of my team.
Minister, thank you very much. It's an honor. We're going to have a continued, maybe a better relationship than ever before. You know, I don't know if the media knows, but the U.S. and U.K. have been working for years to try and make a deal. And it never quite got there.
Yeah.
It did with this Prime Minister. So I want to just congratulate you.
Well, with this President, this Prime Minister, we've managed to achieve what many people have tried to achieve for many years.
That's right.
And I'm really pleased. And it feels completely historic and on a special 80-year anniversary as well. So, Donald, thank you so much. It's really good to have got this deal over the line. Tribute to both teams, tribute to our countries, and tribute to your leadership.
Thank you. Well, it really is a great thing. And you go do your press conference, and I'll see you soon. Maybe speak to you later. But thank you very much. An incredible thing. I can't tell you that for so many years, even as I sat, everybody talked and talked and talked about a deal with, it just seemed like a natural deal, but it was not done. But now it was done with us. So I feel very proud to have been a part of it. Kier, thank you very much.
Thanks, Donald, and we'll speak again soon.
Very good. So long. Bye.
So far, so good. So far, so good. Up to this point, I feel Kier Starmer was doing well, considering the situation. And it unravelled. But it seems to be going to unravel around this time when Mandelson's going to be introduced. So I'm just waiting for that part to come up. I'm not sure when exactly it happens, but I do remember it happening.
That's very nice. Why don't I do this? Why don't I have our Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, give a little description of the deal pretty quick, and then the good side, the very nice side, we'll be speaking about it also, maybe, from so you get a pretty equal. I think it's a very, it's just been a deal that was, we thought, very complicated. It became very simple. It's opening up the country that we really didn't have the kind of access to that I would have thought. I was surprised. I think it's why the deal never got done before. It was, you know, they've been working on this deal for 25 years. And we got it done, and we got it done. Really, it's going to be great for both countries. So, Howard, if you could go, and then somebody else, you may have, you'll pick whoever you want who'd like to do it. I have a feeling you're going to do it, right? So, you guys.
Now, I've not. I never see Trump touching anybody's hand before. And a visibly happy, reassured Mandelson, you know, one of those kind of touches to say, you're right there, yeah? A little squeeze of the hand. And Peter Mandelson is delighted. And J.D. Vance just looks so stiff right beside Trump. It'd be quite interesting to see J.D. Vance in this role. J.D. Vance, a younger man taking the throne of America. But let's concentrate on Mandelson and Trump. Because I'm sure Trump said he didn't know him. But that handshake has, for me, signals that they do know each other. The extent of how much they know each other. And I'm presuming the relationship would have been with Epstein, Peter Mandelson's good friend, and also Donald Trump's good friend. So let's watch on.
Let's go ahead, and then we'll take questions right after that. But I think you'll get a pretty good understanding of how big it is. It's a very large deal, very big deal. And Howard, go ahead.
So the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world and the 4th largest that we export to, right? Wow. So it's a huge market, a top 10 market. If you remember Liberation Day, they were at 10% because we have balanced trade with the UK, right? They say they have a surplus, but of course that counts gold bullion, which is, so let's just call it balanced trade. So how do you open up a market in balanced trade? People think it's impossible. They've always thought it was impossible until President Trump came on the scene and changed the way things work. So here's what we've got. We've opened up new market access, ethanol, beef, machinery, all the agricultural products. They've agreed to open their markets, and that will add $5 billion of opportunity to American exporters. So the question is, why would they do that now? Because they've never done it before, and we still have our 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us? And the way is they studied it, their team was exceptional, and they tried to figure out the markets that they're importing from other people and try to send them over to America. So why were they always favoring others and not us? And what they've done is they've found the ways to do that so that we have new access, right? But the UK workers are protected, and that was the balance. So we did a deal with them in automobiles, and you know, if you're not building here, we charge you a 25% tariff. But the president, and by the way, I want to make this clear, while Jameson and I worked hard, this was the president's deal, and people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left, and if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business, he understands deals, and that's why we're here today. So he agreed they could send 100,000 cars into America and only pay a 10% tariff. And that protects their car industry. And remember, we do 16 million cars a year. So this is only like 0.6%. But for the UK auto people, this is tens of thousands of jobs that the president agreed that he would protect for them. So he made that deal, right? Then steel and aluminum. Right? Their steel business has been destroyed like everybody else has been destroyed by people dumping steel into their markets. And British Steel had announced it was closing down. So the British government, as part of this deal, nationalized British Steel, and they're going to match the kinds of models we do. They'll put tariffs on, they'll put quotas on. They want to do it with America so they can be part of the resurgence of steel and aluminum in America, and that saves them, again, thousands and thousands of jobs. So if you go step by step, aero and commercial planes, they sell Rolls-Royce engines to Boeing. We've agreed to let Rolls-Royce engines and those kind of plane parts to come over tariff-free. And what you're going to hear today is there's going to be an announcement at the UK that they are buying $10 billion worth of Boeing planes later today, but I'm going to let the name of the airline announce it because that's theirs to do it. Part of this deal was always to do it together and to do it strong, and you can see the numbers on this board. Everything about this board works exceptionally well for the United States of America. It lays out the plan that you can work with us in autos, you can work with us with aero and commercial, you can work with us in pharmaceuticals if you have a supply chain that is secure and protected in national security. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the Prime Minister, he feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%, and the market for America is better, and this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day. People don't understand he gets things done in a matter.
He sure does. He gets things done. A new way of doing business. He's no stranger to business, Donald Trump, whether successful or not. He's a deal breaker. So far, the relationship is doing well. Some great figures there coming up. Exchange of great British engineering and, American engineering coming back this way as well. So the strengthening of the relationship, which is important for this time. I mean, with the rise of China and the BRICS, you could put the BRICS. So when it's coming to trade and global stability, it's fair to say the US and the UK's relationship would be better to be one that is stable, right? Seems to it's being unraveled at the moment, but all these trade deals still are in place. So that's something. That's a positive in world affairs, in global affairs. So where are we now? 15 minutes in. Not sure where Mandelson makes his appearance. Let's see if I can maybe skip a little. I think it's quite long-winded, these press conferences.
And in terms of salary?
Oh, did I mention the table tennis table?
Smart founders know something most people miss. Get your domain name even if...
What's going on here?
If you're not ready to launch your business. With Wix, you can grab...
Future trade deals, you say
No.
you're going to keep it here.
No.
Is it going to stay in every...
Yeah, I think it's coming up now. With the questions from the journalists.
They made a good. Some will be higher because they have massive trade surpluses, and in many cases they didn't treat us right. One thing with UK, they had it somewhat closed, not like a China as an example, but they always treated us with great respect.
So
they treated us with great respect. The template of 10 is probably the lowest end. and therefore they, made that deal. But they, we've had just a very special relationship with them. Like, I won't do that deal with cars. I mean, unless somebody shows me that there's another kind of a car that's comparable to a Rolls Royce. And there aren't too many. This is a good commercial for Rolls Royce, but they're going to order a lot of cars.
Mr. President, I wonder whether you'd like to buy. I mean,
well, the last time this happened, I ended up.
I would be happy to suggest a discount, obviously a very modest discount. We have to protect our profit margin.
I've had many of them, actually. The last time that happened.
So this is why I would have said the appointment of Peter Mandelson was quite a good move. I didn't know the extent of which him and Epstein was together. Oh, so it was a good appointment. It was a good appointment. Donald Trump seems to be happy with this appointment. And was it maybe when Peter Mandelson was removed from that position, he got upset with Starmer? Could that be a factor? He seems to be upset with Starmer. I understand the situation with the unexpected surprise offensive in Iran. But he seems to be perfectly happy at this moment, and also shows you Peter Mandelson's character is perfect for the politics, removing all the other stuff for 1 second. Peter Mandelson was the man for that position at the time, right? Peter Mandelson. So let's listen. I think there's a little bit more of an exchange here.
Happened. I ended up buying a Tesla.
Thank you. Mary Margaret Olahan with Daily Wire. I had a question about the UK deal today. I heard there was talk that part of the agreement would depend on whether the UK would respect free speech and freedom of religion. I know the VP is really interested in that, talked about that earlier this year. Was there any assurances that you guys got on that front?
You want to handle that?
Yeah, that was not part of the conversation. Our conversation was an economic conversation from start to finish, closed by the president yesterday. This was a business deal, open their markets and also protect their workers, grow our markets, and help our workers.
This was about business religion. Business is sort of a semi-religion, but not nearly as important. I don't want to get myself into it. Go ahead, in the back.
Mr. President, will you be asking China to help you close, the gap between Ukraine and Russia?
I think so, yeah. I think it's a natural thing to ask.
What do you expect?
Sure. I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing. And without our involvement, they'd be able to get it, because we supplied a lot of different things, foolishly. But we've been sort of paid back by doing the rare earth deal that I talked about before. I think that I think that we will be very much involved in trying to get that bloodbath. It's a bloodbath. It's a horrible situation. 5,000. It's really more than that. But it's 5,000 soldiers on average a week, mostly soldiers, are being killed. Young, beautiful people. I mean, they're being killed. I see the satellite pictures coming back, body parts lying all over fields, heads and arms. It's so terrible. I've never seen anything like it, actually. And if we can get that stopped, that will be a great accomplishment. And we're trying very hard, and I think we're close. And Mr. Witkoff is talking constantly back and forth. He's a real professional who's got a great relationship with both countries. And I think we have a good chance. And likewise, we're trying to work on Iran to get that solved without having to get into any bombing, as we say, big bombing. I don't want to do that. I want them to work a deal. I want them to be very successful.
Pay with Klarna everywhere. One card, 2 ways to pay. Sign up now.
Cat food. Arriving today with Amazon Prime. That's off your mind?
So Morgan McSweeney until February 2026. He was Keir Starmer's powerful Downing Street Chief of Staff, a central figure, and in recent headlines, due to the theft of a government phone, which is believed to contain sensitive correspondence with Peter Mandelson. So Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the US, who resigned, is now under investigation regarding his past ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is allegations of misconduct in public office. Also, we have Andrew, the late Queen's son. He's also under investigation of potential misconduct in public office. And this is tying in with the Jeffrey Epstein files. So Keir Starmer is under pressure from, I think, everyone, with the broader question of accountability for public officials linked to the Epstein scandal to be used on the diplomatic scene. Right. So apparently this phone has gone missing. McSweeney's phone went missing. And I find that strange. Even if your phone goes missing, I would have thought that you would be able to retrieve the data. Right? I would have said that the phone company, right? And they would give you access to whatever was on the phone, right? And also the convenience of the phone just going missing, right? Raises questions on a, say, a cover-up of somewhat. They must obtain the messages, right? They must obtain the messages from Morgan McSweeney's phone, even if he lost it. Especially if I'm sure if he's using a iPhone, that would be stored on the cloud, and you know, all data is stored, so it did seem very convenient that his phones went missing. McSweeney, right? So the reputation of the UK government is in jeopardy. Keir Starmer's appointment of Peter Mandelson is questionable, to say the least. And it always comes back to these files, these Epstein files. Right? And we're looking at transparency. There seems to be a lack of transparency with the files. And now there seems to be a lack of transparency with McSweeney and Mandelson. Right? So a parliamentary motion forced the government to release the Mandelson files, which revealed that advisors, including Morgan Sweeney, pushed through Peter Mandelson's appointment as US ambassador, despite explicit warnings about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So as far as we know now, it's still an allegation, And Peter Mandelson is currently under police investigation for misconduct in public office. Now, where I am very upset with Peter Mandelson and the greed, right? The greed comes here. It's the leaking of market-sensitive government information. Now, there was a 500 billion Eurozone bailout, right? And these details was leaked to Epstein, allegedly, by Peter Mandelson. So Epstein was being fed information, allegedly, by Mandelson. So you got a clear case of insider trading. But also at that time, many people suffered during this bailout, right? So to profit at such a time, for me, that's where I feel that's a disgusting move by Mandelson, right? So back to the McSweeney's work phone. So this was stolen in October 2025. And the investigation is being reopened. And this is due to administrative errors in the original report. And we have critics are pressing for answers on whether the phone's disappearance resulted in the permanent loss of evidence with his communication with Mandelson. Now, I find that very difficult to believe that the information has just disappeared and cannot be retrieved, right? What was McSweeney and Mandelson? What was their correspondence? As they're talking about transparency, it's fair to say that the UK public should be allowed to see what the correspondence was, as these allegations with Peter Mandelson are very serious, very serious. Plus his allegations of giving Jeffrey Epstein sensitive information, such as bailouts, EU bailouts. That is another thing. It just gets worse and worse. Right? So how do the recently released Mandelson documents specifically contradict the government's initial public account of the vetting process? So Starmer backtrotted, reversed, U-turned, and is not quite clear on what he's not being very clear on what he knew or what happened if he had all that information about Peter Mandelson, which he must have known, and then to still go ahead and appoint Peter Mandelson seems to be a political suicide move, right? And then what are the technical and legal implications of the Met Police reopening the investigation into McSweeney's stolen phone? And why is it that the Metropolitan Police can't retrieve the information? Right? And Mandelson's past ministerial conduct compared to the separate inquiries surrounding Prince Andrew? These are the questions that need to be answered. These are the questions that need to be answered.
Morgan McSweeney, Downing Street of staff, has just resigned. In the past moments, we've received a statement. Let me read it to you. After careful reflection, I have decided to resign from the government. The decision to appoint Peter Mandelson was wrong. He has damaged our party, our country, and trust in politics itself. When asked, I advised the Prime Minister to make that appointment, and I take full responsibility for that advice. In public life, responsibility must be owned when it matters most, not just when it is most convenient. In the circumstances, the only honourable course is to step aside. This has not been an easy decision. Much has been written and said about me over the years, but my motivations have always been simple. I have worked every day to elect and support a government that puts the lives of ordinary people first and leads us to a better future for our great country. Only a Labour government will do that. I leave with pride in all we have achieved, mixed with regret at the circumstances of my departure. But I have always believed there are moments when you must accept your responsibility and step aside for the bigger cause. As I leave, I have two further reflections. Firstly, and most importantly, we must remember the women and girls whose lives were ruined by Jeffrey Epstein and whose voices went unheard for far too long. Secondly, while I did not oversee the due diligence and vetting process, I believe that process must now be fundamentally overhauled. This cannot simply be a gesture, but a safeguard for the future. I remain fully supportive of the Prime Minister. He is working every day to rebuild trust, restore standards, and serve the country. I will continue to back that mission in whatever way I can. It has been the honour of my life to serve. That statement coming into us in just the past few moments by Morgan McSweeney, Downing Street Chief of Staff, who has just announced his resignation. We can cross live now to our political editor, Beth Rigby, who joins us now on the line. Beth, this news from Morgan McSweeney, which many, it has to be said, had been expecting.
Yes, Barbara, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and his right-hand man for a number of years has just stepped down from Downing Street and sent me that statement moments ago, which you have just read out on air. He has basically taken the fall in what is a burgeoning crisis for the Prime Minister, and really the pressure has been building for days on Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer that someone needed to take responsibility for the decision to put Peter Mandelson back into government as the ambassador to the US for the UK last February. You know, he was sacked in September, but since the revelations over the weekend of the Epstein files from the US government, the pressure has been building. And in that statement, you can see Morgan McSweeney here taking responsibility, saying the decision was wrong. He says, clearly, I advised the Prime Minister to make that appointment, and I take full responsibility for that advice. In public life, responsibility must be owned when it matters most. He goes on to say it wasn't an easy decision. He said much has been written and said over me over years, but my motivations have been simple: to work every day to elect and support a government putting the lives of ordinary people first. He goes on with two further reflections. One is to remember the victims, the women and girls whose lives were ruined by Epstein and voices who went unheard. And he also talks about the due diligence and vetting process. He makes a point here that he did not oversee the due diligence and vetting process. He says that the process must now be fundamentally overhauled. This has to be a safeguard for the future. And I think there's a clue there as well, which is what the Prime Minister was talking about on Thursday, that the vetting process let down. The Prime Minister certainly saying that the vetting process didn't throw things up that should have been revealed. And Morgan McSweeney there also saying that the vetting process wasn't fit for purpose and should be overhauled. But look, Barbara, the big issue of all of this was Keir Starmer had been holding on to Morgan McSweeney as his chief of staff in the recent days. The pressure had been building, but clearly there has been a decision in number 10, and maybe it was Morgan McSweeney himself that something had to give. And Morgan McSweeney really is resigning now in order, if you like, to try and save the Prime Minister and to take a bit of heat from the Prime Minister, from his backbenchers and his party, who are absolutely furious at what has unfolded. And you have seen in recent days the manner in which a number of MPs have publicly called for Morgan McSweeney to go, or even some of them saying that Keir Starmer's position is untenable. And you would have heard Harriet Harman on our podcast, Electoral Dysfunction, a couple of days ago, saying that she thought that the whole operation in number 10 needed overhauling. And I guess Morgan McSweeney's decision to resign is the attempt to save the Prime Minister and change the team around him in order to buy him some time to try and hold on in what is a party that has thinking about calling time on him.
And Beth, of course, you were mentioning there, Harriet Harman's, what she said, speaking on the podcast, really calling the Prime Minister's judgment into question. We've now had this resignation. Do you think that this takes the pressure off the Prime Minister? Because, of course, there's also been talk about him stepping down.
I think that the realisation has dawned within Downing Street in the past 48 hours when you see the sense of despair, anger, frustration within the parliamentary party, and you see hitherto loyalists actually coming out to criticise, to offer advice, to voice frustrations, that this was a very, very serious situation for the Prime Minister. And I think that what Morgan McSweeney's resignation is an attempt to do is to shore him up, to say to the backbenchers, we have heard you. But look, I don't need to tell you that this decision is not coming from a position of strength. This decision is coming from a position of weakness by the Prime Minister, understanding that the depth of unhappiness in his party means that he has to seriously overhaul the operation and Morgan McSweeney has to go. But look, just a moment on Morgan McSweeney. He has been key to Keir Starmer's ascent to the leadership. He ran the election campaign in 2024 and is credited with the success of that campaign. He has been Keir Starmer's chief advisor and his chief of staff. So for Keir Starmer to let Morgan McSweeney go, that will be a body blow for Keir Starmer. And in the past 24 hours, even as early as this morning, I think you heard Pat McFadden, the Work and Pension Secretary, on the airwaves saying, Morgan McSweeney going does not solve the issue. That's not the issue here. But clearly it might be, and I don't know yet, this is literally just broken. It might be that Morgan McSweeney decided he needed to go in order to try and protect the Prime Minister. It might be that the Prime Minister and him have had a conversation and Keir Starmer has suggested to him that he needs to go. That I do not know yet. It's literally just broken. But in terms of the Prime Minister, this is an attempt to save the Premiership, and someone needed to take responsibility. I put it to Harriet Harman, and I put it to the Prime Minister actually on Thursday, whether it was he who had to take responsibility, because ultimately he took the decision to appoint Mandelson. But in the end, the person taking responsibility and trying to take a bit of heat out of this is Morgan McSweeney by standing down. But I don't need to tell you that decision will leave Downing Street in absolute turmoil, because Morgan McSweeney really was the linchpin of the operation. He'd had a power struggle with Sue Gray, the former chief of staff, a former senior civil servant brought into the Starmer leadership team ahead of the general election. She was let go. And then Morgan McSweeney stepped from being head of campaigns into the chief of staff role, but he has gone. And I think the fact he has gone tells you that the depth of the difficulty that the Prime Minister is in, because my guess would have been that Keir Starmer would have wanted to keep Morgan McSweeney. He wouldn't have wanted Morgan McSweeney to be the fall guy for this, but the momentum against the operation, the anger, the situation that the Labour Party is in, the way in which the Mandelson appointment and then subsequent revelations is damaging the party, has meant that Keir Starmer needs to be seen to be clearing out those that have advised and been around him in order to reset the operation, in order to try to cling on to.
So Morgan McSweeney, the man behind the scenes. I've never heard of Morgan McSweeney until this time, until this current situation. Morgan McSweeney. Now, we have the Sun apparently have a published 999 call transcript. Right. So the initial report of a lost phone, Morgan McSweeney did not reveal to the Metropolitan Police that he worked for the Prime Minister when he called 999 to report the phone theft. Right? So let's see if we can see this transcript. There's a transcript here. So obviously, if he'd have mentioned that he was working for the government, there would have been a different kind of response from the Metropolitan Police to retrieve this phone, which would pose a security risk with the information that was on the phone. A government official. And I mean, how is it that they have phones, or they should have phones that, I don't know, some high-tech phones or something that, you know, there must be some sort of security measure should be in place. So in the event of their phone and your work, national security is not at risk. So that seems strange. Of measures in place to like there should be some sort of tag on that phone, some sort of a possible moment. As soon as it's left your hands or your person, it self-destructs. Yeah, so they're just walking around with normal phones that we all use. Even that, they should have their own kind of phones. You know, they're kind of, I don't know, their own network or something. Something. It should be more secure. More secure. And I mean, yeah, it could have been intentional, right? So you've got on your screen there. I have to be kind of careful what some parts are copyrighted, you know, the footage. So who's that now? Okay, so this is a different there. So 2 attempts to phone him during working hours the next day, there was no answer. And the Metropolitan Police said that they've reviewed available CCTV of the area. Right, so there should be some evidence to suggest that a phone was taken, or right, in a busy place like London. Right? So here is the extract from the phone call. This is the extract. It's falling apart. An extract. Extract from the phone here. Call handler. Yeah, he was young. He was a black guy. Handler's asking about how young. You know, just a guest. Teens, late teens. Was he skinny, tall, any idea? Yeah, he was slim. About average height. Was it an e-bike or a pedal bike? He said it was a pedal bike. So the question is, have you got a tracker on the phone at all? So yes, he says, iPhone. So there is a tracker on the phone, which I would have presumed that they should have had a tracker on the phone. And also, it's your work phone, and what kind of phone they're asking, the call handler. And it's a work phone, and it's an iPhone. And he doesn't know what model phone it was. Right? So this happened. So he's also the wrong location. The location is what? Belgrave Street in Tower Hamlets. Instead of Belgrave Road in Westminster. Belgrave Road. Belgrave Road. Belgrave Road, London. Belgrave Road. Hang on, I need to zoom out a bit to see. Let me put the satellite on. I want to put this up to there. Gallery. Victoria Square. Is this near Pimlico? So is this near Victoria Station, is it? I think it is. Let's zoom it. Yeah, that's Victoria Station. Victoria Station, yeah. Belgrave Road. Oh, that road. Right. Trying to see where I used to work around this bit here. Belgrave. It's not too far from Buckingham Palace. I wouldn't say it's too far from Parliament Square. Right, Victoria. Eccleston Square. Belgrave Road. So it's he could so Belgrave Road and Belgrave Street. It could be a mistake. Yeah, it could be a mistake. If they'd asked him the area, maybe the area. If he'd have said, "I'm in SWV," or I think this is E1. E1, yeah, right. Well, I would have said it's a stark difference between Belgravia, yeah, Stepney. Right, so he said a young black lad, right, stole his phone. In Stepney. It's possible. It's possible. It's a majority. See what the. I mean, uh, if I um if I'd have said the likelihood of a phone going, being stolen, I wouldn't have said it would have happened here by Victoria Station, being a sort of a major transport hub. Not to say that these things wouldn't happen in Stepney, but right, Stepney, you would say majority. I won't say everyone in the area is of Asian descent, but around the area, the Bengalis, the South Asians. Yeah, Stepney and all that. Stepney, Whitechapel, like Commercial Street and that. So I would have said he would have definitely have found, he would have been on camera around by Victoria. Right, I would have said, I would have put around here maybe a little less of you having footage of it happening. So that's another kind of strange, you lost your phone. And, your location would be very important to be relayed to the call handler. I mean, I imagine when your phone has been stolen, you could have a lack of it could be a moment of confusion and worry. Yeah, but never. Right, this looks Stepney Farmers Market. So it happened here. Right, it happened here. Right, by a housing estate. Yeah, that's where it happened. He reckons it's a young black guy stole his phone. Not on the e-bike, which normally, not saying that it's only e-bikes used, but from most of the footage we see with phones being snatched, it's a e-bike or a scooter or a motorcycle. Right, so we're in a predominantly Asian area, right? And this happened near an estate, right? An estate in Stepney, not in Victoria, right? So these the two locations are on opposite sides. One in the east end, in the very busy commuter hub of Victoria. Right, Belgravia. Right. And another question, I would have more have said he would have, if someone would have said, the question was, a government official, where would he, where would he be? Pimlico, Belgravia, or Stepney? I would have said Belgravia. I would have said Belgravia. I mean, I wonder what he was doing in Stepney. Near a housing estate. Not near... What was he doing around there? Near a housing estate. Oh, hang on. Let me see where this Belgrave Street leads to. See what your truck's here now. I know the truck's here. Well, he could have been in the old ship. Alright, in a predominantly Asian area. And this neck of the woods. And the report is a young black guy stole his phone. Alright, so that's back to the transcript there. So that's another point of interest there. Ah, okay. So in reverse here. It's in reverse. So he was on Belgrave Road, and he gave Bell Street in Tower Hamlets. Okay. Yeah, that sounds okay. That sounds more. I don't know what he would have been doing in Stepney. So that could have been a slight mistake. So he's quit as a staff of quit as Keir Starmer's chief of staff. Yeah. Right. And obviously we watched the footage of the Sky report. The MPs are furious about this, and also an opportunity for the leader of the opposition to question Keir Starmer's leadership. Yeah. So Wes Streeting has come up, and he reckons it's a cock up, not a conspiracy. And the choice of words. I mean, a cock up, not a conspiracy. Well, the use of words. I mean, you have to wonder sometimes. And right, so we got the Times Radio. Yeah, he had an interview with the Times Radio. I can totally understand the cynicism in these sorts of cases, but do bear in mind that when a phone was stolen, it was reported to the police at the time. Okay, all right. So there's no conspiracy. They're saying no conspiracy. Well, there is a conspiracy, and there may be a cock up and also a conspiracy at the same time. It's hard to believe that they can't retrieve this information. It seems very strange. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. Oh, yeah. Pants down. Trevor, man. Trevor. That's funny. Pants down. So, gone underwear shopping with another man. Oh, God. Well, you say that, but Trevor is close friends with uh, Peter Mandelson. Yeah, he's a friend. Let's hear from Trevor, which also confirms. I get the on one side why to put Peter Mandelson in as a as the US ambassador, but weighing up the options and weighing up the evidence, I really can't believe that they actually went through with that. But here's Trevor's. He's come out, Trevor's come out and said that, which I didn't know. Trevor, was good friends. So it just shows his character. You know, he would have been perfect for that job on paper, but with this Epstein files and that. Mm, mm, mm. Huh. Oh, well, I think that's been disproven. I think you may find that Peter Mandelson, his husband, did payment from Epstein. Mandelson, husband. Yeah. Well, well, so, so there's emails that proved in 2009 and 2010, Ronaldo Avila da Silva, the Brazilian partner or husband, was taking regular undisclosed payments of thousands of pounds from Jeffrey Epstein. And this is even after he was jailed for soliciting underage girls in 2008. Right? So we have Mandelson wielding huge political power as his appointment as a business secretary. Right? And this was under the Gordon Brown administration. So we have De Silva asking for 10,000 from Epstein to fund a osteopathy course and other related expenses. And Epstein said he would wire the money straight over, right? And send $13,000. Yeah. Later correspondence as well. Epstein told his accountant to send £2,000 per month to Ronaldo. Right? And this is on top of the 13,000. And this figure's come back down to say $4,000. Yeah. Right. The power of Epstein and his vast amount of cash. Yeah, he's the man to go to for money. And also showing his power, right? You know, he's the financer. He's in charge of the funds. He's the man to go to. Yeah. Right. Right. So you've got your other dealings with Mandelson. Right. A Sultan, Ahmed bin Sulayem, chair of Dubai-based ports company DP World. He sent a letter to Mandelson demanding either guarantees or loans to help finance the company's London Gateway port project. Right? And just beforehand, dear Jeffrey, I'm sending this to Peter in the next 20 months. Right? Then 2010, Mandelson forwarded a memo to Epstein summarising a meeting he had about banking reforms with Lawrence Summers, head of President Obama's National Economic Council. So, on paper, Mandelson is the man for this appointment, but with his record and ties, even the title of that video with Trevor Phillips is that he seems to be a very clever man, but making idiotic moves. Right? Right? So he's got ties all over the globe. Mandelson being in charge of the business secretary role, right? So Mandelson left politics after Labour's election defeat in May 2010 and built a successful consultancy called Global Counsel, and also marrying De Silva in 2023 after 3 decades together. Yeah. And a lot of embarrassing information comes out, you know, the 50th birthday book for Epstein, in which Mandelson called him his best pal and expressed his love as Epstein faced jail for his engagement with underage teenagers. Right? So back to Morgan McSweeney. He pleaded with the Prime Minister not to sack Mandelson. Yeah? Right? So there's a very strong relationship here. Right? With Mandelson and McSweeney. Mandelson once said, "I don't know who and how and when he was invented, but whoever it was, they will find their place in heaven." Right? So, like other power brokers ranging from Bill Clinton to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and also banking executive Jez Staley, Mandelson enjoyed generous hospitality from the disgraced financer. right? So we got flights here as well being taken. We also got picture evidence, right? Right. So it's somewhat proven that Mandelson's relationship, without a doubt, he had a close relationship with Epstein, and even his husband was receiving money from Epstein as well. And we also got the Silva barely knew each other, right? So they barely knew each other, and he said that he didn't receive 10,000 a month from Epstein for 2 years. Yeah, so a denial from Mandelson, right? But again, if it's been wired, there will be a paper trail there, right? Right, and no response. You know, the couple live in a £30 million house in Regent's Park. You know, right? So they're doing well for themselves, right? Right. And Mandelson staying in Epstein's 77 million Manhattan townhouse as well, right? And again, the emails show thousands of dollars flowing from Epstein to Mandelson's partner. Yeah. Buying of properties in Mallorca, Brazil. Yeah. The asking of advice on how to lower the tax on buying a flat in Brazil. You know. Right. So with all this information, Starmer was asking for it. We understand that he may have been suitable for the role with his experience. But it's just unbelievable that Keir Starmer, being a chief prosecutor, a man that spends a lot of time reading information, would still go through with it, right? And it seems as if there's a certain amount of fondness for Mandelson. There seems to be quite a fair fondness of Mandelson, right? Even McSweeney saying, don't get rid of him, keep him in the job. And we also saw President Trump seemed to be very happy with the appointment as well, right? And things seemed to unravel after Mandelson was sacked from his position, and the relationship with Trump and Keir Starmer seems to be somewhat affected. Let's listen on with Trevor, because Trevor says that he's an idiot. Yeah, Trevor said he's an idiot. The title of this video, A Complete Idiot. I need to refresh.